Hey folks, Jeff Little here at Confluence Outdooring with product developer Hans Nutz, who designed this boat, the Wilderness Systems Recon 120 HD, and the regular Recon 120. We're going to talk about the differences a little bit later between those two boats. But first, I'm going to talk about the rigging I did with this boat to get the Ultralight 1103 on there, a 3 horsepower electric outboard with a 915 watt-hour lithium battery. So this boat obviously was designed for the pedal drive, the Helix pedal drive.
Both pedal drive and to be motorized, yep.
So we have that in here, and typically, you have your hand control steering here on the other side for a rudder, but I took the rudder off because, well, honestly, it was in the way of me installing the Torqeedo mounting bracket. So in order to basically allow for an angler to switch back and forth between the motor and the pedal drive, and the example I use for that is if you have a tournament angler who, say one weekend he has a tournament that does not allow motors and he wants to use the pedal drive, he can do that. And then the next weekend he has one where he can use the motor, he can switch back to the Torqeedo Ultralight. The way that we accomplish that is, and I'm going to show you how we actually swap it out, but I worked with Trey Leach at Innovative Sportsman, and this is the pivot drum, which is the same as the one that's in the bracket for the motor, but Trey Leach with Innovative Sportsman has made this this rudder that fits right into there. It's a 30 millimeter pipe, slides in there, put a steering triangle on there, and the motor lift bar, and I'll show you how quickly that goes in there so you can swap from motor to pedal drive and back pretty readily. But before we do that, I want to show you just the operation of the steering of the motor. We used the stern motor foot control kit, which includes these slides here. And I actually have the full installation video on my YouTube channel. It's called The Little Stuff. There's a whole Torqeedo playlist there, and this is one of the install of this particular boat is one of the ones that's on there. So, but basically you're controlling the steering of the motor with this, with these sliding foot pegs. When you're not going to use them, I like to slide them forward. And that way, or backwards, yep. That way you've cleared the range of motion for the pedal drive. I will show you that the motor also steers with this knob. That's really important. I actually have four of the the Spectra cords connected here to really show that you can have dual steering. I'm going to swap all of these out, and we'll go ahead and put the rudder in there. This is the motor lift line, and I'll go ahead and take that little carabiner out. And this is the reverse lock. We're not going to need that for that. And we're just going to, you can just stick it in there for now. We'll go ahead and drop that in. All right.
And you've set up one set of these for the hand control, right?
Yeah. So this is the one that's to the hand control. It's the outer one. Like I said, you can watch the full install video at the Little Stuff YouTube channel. And then you have your, this is the lift line. I used the rudder lift line to get that through there. You can see I'm using the steering knob here to steer that. So forward propulsion and then steering using this knob. So both pedal drive and motor options on this rig.
So the rudder lift option for whether you're using a standard rudder or this rudder, or you're using a Torqeedo, the rudder lift lines are now running against this back plate, and they come out just behind the seat.
It was actually an easier
it's a little
lift.
more convenient, yeah.
Well, it was an easier lift, and this is a fairly heavy motor. And I was surprised with how this line running underneath the well and then coming out here, it's a straighter shot than what I'm used to doing, where it comes out to the side, hits some sort of track, and runs back. Made for a very easy lift. So that's the Recon 120 HD with both the Torqeedo Ultralight 1103 and the Helix pedal drive. And we'd like to show you what it takes to install the Ultralight 1103 on a standard Recon 120.
Yeah, I think we'll do that next.
Okay.
Yep. So we brought a Recon 120 in so we can show you the install of the Torqeedo on the Recon 120 non-HD. And real quick, I'm just going to show you a couple things about the differences between the Helix drive unit, the pedal drive unit, and the non-HD. Obviously the price difference is there. When you're installing a Torqeedo on the non-HD, it's a pretty quick install. So I want to make sure you guys have that video so you can just see how it goes. A couple quick things. Obviously, this boat does not come with the pedal drive itself. It's going to have a scupper cover here instead, so the HD bracket is gone, and it has this really nice bin, so you can just throw some of your extra stuff in there. And then on the underside, the HD version would have brushes. So you would have brushes here on the HD that would allow the pedal drive to drop through. We have a plate now which helps just keep that water flow moving nice and easy past the scupper area. So quiets everything down. So those are some of the big differences. We have the Wilderness foot brace system here, and then the other thing to notice is that the non-HD version will be plumbed with the rudder with foot control tubing up front here for switching out to the sliders and in foot control. And I'll show you back here where the tubing goes. And real quick, the other thing that we have with this, with foot control tubing routed on this boat, we also have still the lift lines routed here too, because you're going to need those for motorizing this boat. The foot control lines are coming out here on this back face. And so what the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to move these up to here. And the reason is because with the Torqeedo bracket, the motor and the steering mechanism actually sits a little higher, so we want those lines coming in above. So that's going to be the first thing that we do here, is move these steering tubes up to the higher face. So I've got two marks here. You may not be able to see them very well, but you can feel them with if you kind of rub your thumb over them. So we're going to hit those marks. I'm going to reach in through the hatch, pop this tubing out. If I can get my knife going. We're going to slice that off. So now you've got a little extra tubing because you have extra length here, and I'm going to take the end of this tube and feed it up through the new hole, which takes a little bit of practice to do. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do I'm going to pull it snug. I'm actually pulling on the line about a ½ inch or so out further than I need to. So I've got that clamped off. Got this clamped off. I'm going to trim it a little bit further out, maybe about a ½ inch out or so. Then I'm going to take my lighter and I like to take a little drill bit or a nail or something like that and have that ready. Going to heat that up a little bit. Kind of make sure you keep the through hole open a little bit, and then I kind of make sure you push the outside of the tubing. So all we're doing is just making this flange out a little bit so that when it cools off and we release the vice grips, it will not pull back through. So I'm going to let go of the vice grip, and there you go. Okay. So we're going to do the other one next. So we get our marks. So we're running 1/4-20 fasteners down through the bracket. And then we've got a 1/4-20 lock nut on the back side. So yep, now I'm just using my 7/16 and on the back side and using the driver on the front side. So the next thing we're going to do is mount the foot control steering up here. So we're going to dig into this kit, get the standard foot braces off the boat, and install the sliding foot braces for our foot control steering. One of the things that we have on the Recon is we've got this removable bin up front, which is great for all of your gear. And also, the other thing that's nice about it is that it just gives you good access down in the hull. You can get extra storage down here, store batteries, all those things. But what we're going to do is get in here and pop loose the front foot brace, and that's a 7/16 and a 1/4-20. So that's, and there's a washer on the back that I'll show you. That's a neoprene washer on the back, so that helps keep the boat from those through holes from leaking, and that'll be on the back side when you pull it out. The one up here runs into an insert, so all you got to do is unthread it from there. So the next thing we're going to do is install these foot control steering sliders. They come in the Wilderness Systems kit. This kit is actually a universal kit, and it will adapt to a number of our models. In the case of what we're doing here today, the holes that mount the slider are threaded, and we need to drill these out because we want them to be clearance holes instead of threaded holes. So we'll do that next. So we've got the through holes drilled out, and I'm going to mount the forward brace first. So I'm using the longer 1/4-20 screw. It's going back in the same hole location, and I'm going to use that neoprene washer with a lock nut on the back side. So I've got the left side, port side foot brace. I've got this the front part bolted in. I go ahead and slide my foot brace in. Slide it forward so I can get the back screw in, and I find that back insert. Screw that in. We'll do the same thing for the other side, and then we'll move to running the control lines next. I've taken one end of the spectra cord, looped it through the foot brace, and I'm just making a couple of coils here, and I keep them open so that I can then feed that end back through. Try and keep it neat. Start feeding it down the tubing. We're about to find out if I did a good job. There it is. And that's a beautiful thing when the Spectra's coming out the tubing. Okay, so we ran one side of the Spectra cord to the foot braces. We're going to do the other side. The main thing to keep in mind when you're hooking up your Spectra cord is that you want the foot brace part, you want these to be even so that your foot pedals are even up front. And I'm going to use Jeff in a minute. He's going to hold them and make sure that they're held in place. And then I'm going to come back to the back here, and you want to make sure that your steering triangle is also headed straight down the boat. And what I'm going to do is, we have one side hooked up here. I'm going to hook up my carabiner here, and the idea is that this Spectra cord is going to stretch a little bit, so you want to leave some gap before you tie that final knot. So we're just going to check, make sure that we've got good smooth install. Looks pretty good. And then there it is at the back. Full range. So we've installed the foot control lines to the foot braces. The next thing we're going to do is install the motor lift lines. So we're about to run the motor lift line. I'm going to go ahead and feed it to the pre-run tubing at the back. We got this fed through, and the next thing we're going to do is just install a cleat on the track. Okay, so we did the same thing for the reverse lock. Okay, so we finished the install of the Torqeedo on this Recon 120. We've got the throttle in place. We've installed the 1103 motor on this boat, but you know, you can definitely have the 403 on the Recon 120. And one thing that's really cool is that Jeff has already done an install of the Torqeedo on the Recon 120 HD and preserved the ability to switch back and forth between pedal drive and the motor. But what I'd like to say about this is that if you buy a Recon 120 at $1099 and add the 403 motor, you're looking at a tournament rig ready to go for under $3,000. So that's the setup that we have here. It's a much easier setup to install the motor on the Recon 120, and you're ready to go. And so we're going to get out and go do some fishing.
Hey folks, we're getting ready to launch on the Cahaba River in Alabama, and Tim here has both visor and earmuffs because it was cold, right?
It was cold
last night.
Yes.
So, and Hans, he's
What's
in
up, guys?
Recon 120 HD, and then you've just got the regular
Recon
120.
Yep.
So both of them rigged up with motors. Let's go catch some fish.
Come on up, Pete. Come on up, Pete. Yeah, George. Me and old George Jones.
I just caught this Alabama bass, one of my favorite species. I caught it in a slack area right here. There's an eddy line right there, and it's probably about chest deep. And these fish are holding in that calmer water. And I'm going to turn her loose. Beautiful fish. Healthy. There she goes. A serious fighter for anybody. But I caught this fish with the help of this Recon. This Recon is an awesome boat that I'm falling in love with every day that I'm in it. One reason is my seat is in a little bit higher position, and my legs stay at a good 90+ degree angle, which gives me comfort for long days. And this boat is also the awesome length that I can maneuver it around in some of the swift water and slide in behind these eddies. It's very important like today. But easy install with this Torqeedo. This boat was actually made with a motor type propulsion. It's not that I'm putting a motor on a kayak. This kayak was actually developed for motors or pedals. So it actually handles so sweet. So I'm very excited about this boat. Digging the color. This is this is Mesa, and it is a beautiful color. So, hey, comfort, maneuverability for an old river guy, it don't get no better than that. Crappie. That's a big old crappie. Yeah.
So yeah, we just floated down through this island section here and came through some really shallow water, and I let the boat kind of beach up on this little sandbar. But I guess what's really cool about the Recon versus some other boats is that it does have a nice shallow draft to it. At 12'3", it has a really nice balance. It can still track, but you can also get in here and you can see we've been in some moving water, so you can see that we've been kind of maneuvering around in river conditions, which is great. At 38 inches wide, it's still got tons of stability, which is really just really nice for the amount of gear storage that you get in here and the ways you can set it up. One thing I'm doing today that's a little different is I typically stage my rods in the crate, but because we're on a river, I've got my rods set up down here so I can kind of slide under trees and branches. And that's what the rod storage is for on the sides. You can get 4 rods in the rod storage easily, probably more if you wanted to. And then you've also got still all that room underneath the seat. So like today, I've got my the battery for the Torqeedo under here, and I've got some soft plastics under there. Up front, this bow cover. Today I've got a change of clothes because it is, we're headed into winter here, so I want to make sure I have some extra clothes in there, and I've got some extra tackle up front and some food and some water. So that's what I'm storing up front. And then we've, down the middle here, I'm just trying to keep that nice and clear. So that's how I have it set up today. But that's what the Recon's really all about, is having a boat that has enough width, enough capacity to set it up kind of the way you want to set it up for the water that you fish. And that's going to change if it's a river or if you take it to the coast for those salt flats, hitting redfish. It's kind of a boat that can hit all of those things. And so today it's working out fantastic. And obviously, we're out in just one of the most beautiful spots I've been in a long time. So having a good time.
Wilderness System Recon 120 and the Ultralight by Torqeedo makes an awesome river rig.